Welcome back to Heroic Book Adventures. I'm Steve, and today I'm taking a look at Irene Radford's The Stargods Trilogy. This is an omnibus edition I have that contains The Hidden Dragon, The Dragon Circle, and The Dragon's Revenge. Decent cover on it. I like that. So this is actually a prequel trilogy to Radford's Dragon Nimbus series. I never read that one, but I do remember it being like moderately popular back in the 90s. Like I would see it on the shelves at Walden Books and stuff like that. So I always had it in the back of my head that maybe someday I'd get around to the series. And being that I generally prefer reading a series in chronological order, when I saw this prequel trilogy for just a few dollars, I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a try. So where the Dragon Nimbus seems to be more like an epic fantasy with dragons and magic in that, this one actually starts out as more of a science fiction setting, because you have these three brothers that are on their spaceship and they're being chased down by the intergalactic military police because the boys are like smugglers, on the wrong side of the law kind of thing. So they're being chased down by the military, and while they're being shot at and all that, they're in a bad situation. So the only thing they can think of is to do a warp jump to an uncharted sector. So once they get out of there, out of danger, they assess the situation, and their ship's all busted up from the fight and being chased in that. So they actually can't warp out anywhere else, and they're kind of stuck in this sector until they make some repairs to the ship. So they scan the system and find that there's a planet there which is Earth-like, and it looks like it also has the base metals and minerals and things, materials they'll need to repair their ship so they can get back home to their family. So once they get down onto this planet, they soon find out that it's actually inhabited by humans there. So all they can figure is that at some point in the distant past, humans had came there and colonized the planet, but for whatever reason decided to all leave and just never come back, and the planet was all forgotten about. So these people have just been there living for who knows countless generations. And because they've been out there all by themselves, they've come to be a really primitive civilization. They're running around with spears and stuff like that. And so them landing with their spaceship and their advanced technology, the people there view them as star gods. So the brothers, in addition to trying to start the repairs on their ship, decide, okay, we can help out these people with our advanced technology and start developing relationships with the villagers and all that. But not everybody there on the planet views them as gods. Of course, there's always going to be conflict where some people uh, don't like them, and there's differences of religious opinion and all kinds of things at play, and they want to bring down the star gods. So they start living and working here, because the brothers view it as, hey, there's kind of worse things than living on a planet where you're worshipped as gods. And there's lots of resources there. It's really fertile soil. In a galaxy where food is actually something hard to come by, they figure they can grow food and make a fortune out of it, selling it to other planets. So they start putting in infrastructure and planting crops and introducing these things they can to get the people living in a little higher living conditions. But there's always that threat of the people that don't like the star gods, and there's also the ever looming threat that the military police will at some point find them. Because not only if they find them will they arrest the three brothers and throw them in prison, but they know that corporations will find this fertile planet and just take it over to abuse it and harvest all the resources from it. I would classify this one as very YA. It feels like something that I would have really enjoyed when I was a teenager reading it. And it's not that I can't read YA today. I just think it wasn't very well written for what it is. You know, even if something's written for a younger audience, it should still be well written, but just have the content, language, and word choice that's appropriate for the target age group you're looking at. And I just found the writing in this just a little bit too juvenile for the story in it. Like, say there's a scene where the three brothers are chasing after the villain, so they're all running down this hall. The brothers are yelling ahead at him, "We're never going to let you get away with your evil schemes." And then the villain is arguing, yelling back over his shoulder, "You're never going to be able to stop me." Mwahaha. And it just came across as so cartoonish, you know? Like when I'm reading pages, reading the words on the page, I have like a movie playing in my head of what's going on. That's just how I read. And in this one, it was like an animated cartoon playing. And I never get that, but that's just how it was for me. So I don't know. I wonder if everybody else would have the same experience too. Like, I'd be curious to hear if any of you have read any of Irene Radford's books and what you thought of them. Because overall, I would give all three books a 5 out of 10. To their credit, it was consistent all the way through. You know, it's not the worst thing I've read. I would say that the overall outline, like the plot, the characters, the ideas in it, were actually pretty cool, and I actually cared. I wanted to see how it all turned out at the end. But I think I just would have rather had that outline given to another author that approached it from a little bit more mature of an angle, if that makes sense. So I think it's just one of those cases of the author's style just not jiving with me. And I feel like after three books, that's a large enough of a sample size that I gave it a chance, and it just didn't work out for me. So it's overall, to me, just felt like very average, like the definition of average 90s era YA fantasy. So maybe you'd like it, and I wouldn't, if somebody was interested in reading this, I wouldn't talk them out of it because, like I said, it could be a situation where I just didn't like it, but somebody else could like the writing style and thought it was just fine. So I will see you teenage heroes on our next cartoonish adventure.